How can you tell when you're witnessing the birth of a future NBA legend? Not just some future all-star or highlight reel dunker. We're talking about that once-in-a-generation type of greatness. The kid who makes the entire country stop and say, yep, that one's different. Usually the clues hit early, national hype before they even get a driver's license, fans learning their name before they play a single NBA minute, a couple viral clips on the timeline, off-the-charts athleticism, maybe a Sports Illustrated cover thrown in. You start cooking up the hype soup and you get the recipe for a future superstar. But there's a problem. We're terrible at actually predicting who becomes generational. For every one phenom who lives up to it, there's 10 who fade into the what-if pile. So what do you call a kid labeled generational at 16? A kid who played LeBron in high school runs and was already being projected as the #1 draft pick 3 years before he could even declare. That's Cooper Flagg, a player who's faced Everest-level expectations and somehow climbed even higher. But even now, with him lined up as the most obvious #1 pick in recent draft history, fans are split. Some believe he's about to become the face of an entire era. Others think he's one of the most overhyped prospects we've seen in years. And honestly, I get it. We've been burned before. So what's real? What actually makes Cooper Flagg so different? Is he really generational? Or are we teeing him up to fail like so many before? To figure that out, we gotta rewind the tape all the way before anyone outside Maine even knew his name. Music pause. Back in December 2021, a small news outlet in Maine dropped a story on this 14-year-old basketball prodigy. They described a freak athlete who looked like he was cooked up in a basketball lab, 6 feet 7 inches, ridiculously gifted with an intensity that jumped off the court. Coaches and scouts in the area knew they were watching something special, something they'd literally never seen before. That was Cooper Flagg, a freshman who hadn't played a single high school game, yet somehow already felt like a future pro. Fast forward 2 years. Cooper's no longer a local Maine secret. He transferred to Montverde Academy, a basketball factory where NBA dreams turn into reality. By the end of his sophomore season, it was clear. Cooper wasn't just the best in his class. He was something else entirely. And then it happened. The G word, generational. This label started sticking after Cooper tore up the summer circuit and shot to the #1 spot in the national rankings. We've seen hype before, but this was different. This was August 2023. Cooper was only 16. He was still technically 3 years away from the NBA draft, but he was already being mentioned alongside LeBron, Anthony Davis, Zion, and Wemby, the ultimate unicorn prospects. And just 1 week after those comparisons started flying, Cooper shocked everyone. He announced he was reclassifying from 2025 to 2024, meaning he'd skip a whole year and jump straight into the top spot in the country against older competition. It worked instantly. He became the #1 player in the class of 2024, ahead of dudes 1 or 2 years older, a 16-year-old sophomore now projected as the top pick in the 2025 NBA draft. That's wild, but even wilder? Cooper didn't just hold his own. He dominated so early that he was basically the runaway favorite for National Player of the Year just a few games into the high school season. This level of projection is rare air. Like Victor Wembanyama and LeBron level rare. Wemby was locked in as a future #1 pick 2 years ahead. LeBron, same thing. You don't see it often because basketball is too unpredictable. And yet Cooper kept checking boxes. Next, he faced his biggest test, proving he could dominate at the next level. But before he even got to college, Cooper pulled off something no other high schooler had ever done. In 2023, Cooper got invited to join the USA Men's Select Team, the squad that trains against the Olympic team. You know, LeBron, Steph, KD, all those guys. This team had not taken a high schooler in over a decade. Actually, they'd never taken a high school kid at all. If you were Cooper, the mission should have been blend in, make smart plays, and don't embarrass yourself. Just be a sponge. But Cooper? Nah. Not only did he keep up, he actually stood out. After the training camp, The Athletic ran a straw poll asking Olympic players who the best player on the select team was. Cooper, unanimously. This team had some of the brightest young NBA talents, and a 17-year-old high school kid outplayed them all. By the end of that summer, he wasn't just living up to the generational label, he was redefining it. He had the national hype, the The frame and skills that looked like they were from the future. He went from clowning kids his own age to going toe-to-toe with the best players in the world. Then came college, which at that point felt like a formality. At Duke, Cooper showed up as the second youngest player in all of college basketball. Didn't matter, he immediately became the best player in the country. He averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, all while still technically supposed to be in high school. Statistically, he was the best offensive player in college basketball and a top 5 defender. Scouts started tossing out comparisons to Jason Tatum, Scottie Pippen, Kawhi Leonard. Cooper played half his freshman season at 17 and won National Player of the Year. Let's really look at what that means. Imagine a chart with 250 top college players plotting age versus advanced impact stats. Up in the top right corner, you see all the 22 and 23-year-old stars, the older, more seasoned dudes who've been grinding for years. The NBA doesn't just want the best college player, they want the one with the highest upside, the young guy who can still get even better. When you highlight all the first-round picks in that draft, most are in that draft zone. Elite, but super young. So where's Cooper? Way up, alone, like he's playing in a different dimension. He wasn't just better than his peers, he was way better than players years older, while having an even higher ceiling. It's not a stretch to call him a generational prospect, but here's the twist. When LeBron came in, nobody had ever seen a guy like him. When Wemby showed up, it felt like he was from another planet. But players like Cooper, we actually have seen this mold before. Players who look just as NBA ready, just as young, just as hyped. And history tells us we can't always tell the difference between great talent and true generational talent. Since 2000, there have been about 12 guys labeled as generational. LeBron, Greg Oden, Zion, Wemby, you know the list. Some of them, like Greg Oden, looked unstoppable, until injuries wrote a different story. Zion, same script. Others, like Dwight Howard or Anthony Davis, became Hall of Famers, but not quite generational like LeBron level. Then there were prospects like Andrew Wiggins and Ben Simmons who looked like future MVPs, but didn't get there. Even guys like DeAndre Ayton and Cade Cunningham got the generational tag. When you stack it up, only about 2 of those 12 guys actually lived up to the label. So what does that mean for Cooper? It means the label once in a generation really should mean once in a generation. Wemby might actually be that guy for this era, and we might not see another for a long time. So what are the odds Cooper actually maxes out his ceiling and becomes the guy? Truth is, no one knows. If pre-draft hype always predicted the future, Zion would be dominating the league right now. Wiggins and Simmons would be battling for Finals MVP. On the flip side, if projections were always right, we would have never seen Giannis, Jokic, or Kawhi explode the way they did after being mostly overlooked. Sometimes it's not that a generational prospect fails, it's that maybe they were never that level to begin with. Everything we've seen suggests Cooper Flagg might truly be that rare unicorn, the perfect blend of skill, IQ, frame, and mentality, but all of that is still just an idea until he proves it on the biggest stage. The truth? Only time will tell if Cooper becomes the face of basketball's future, or just another chapter in the long, messy story of what ifs.